We need to have these conversations of courage to say, yes, we all have suffered physical, sexual, family assault, taking of cultures, but in order for us to transcend that, we need to not do what my daughter calls the oppression Olympics. We don't need to compare trauma with each other. Everybody gets better at a different rate. The forgiveness, the healing is lifelong. And if you don't do it by the time you're 90, you're healing, you're going to have to do it in the next life. But the call to leadership here is to do the healing, to respect the Oceti Sakowin, the women that are coming here from all nations, and those of you that are from other nations, we welcome you as diplomats of your nation. Don't run out there on the front line and get violent because we ask you not to. Because they will tell us, we will confirm what they think of us, that we're just angry, pissed off, violent, dangerous Indian people. I'm dangerous, but I'm also loving and kind. And I choose the way I want to be. And I want you to do that too. And I have grandma powers, so come talk to me. I promise to be nice. I'm going to ask I'm going through a healing. What I'm learning is, you younger generation, you have words for the things that we suffered that we didn't have words for. We just had gut feelings. In our language, we call it nagik sapa, spirit smart. I knew I shouldn't have gone there at that time and something happened. But nowadays, the young people have words for it. They even learn it in class. And so I'm renegotiating my relationship with my daughter because she's my teacher about oppression now. Because there's some ways that I have become an active colonizer without knowing it. I do that through control, overprotection, harshness, shaming, belittling. I have to learn to soften my voice. I have to learn to accept that people are doing the best that they can wherever they are.
She's Dakota and she's also in Minnesota as well, so I asked her to come be that young Native woman voice and share her story.
Because when we talk about sexual violence for our women, it takes many years for us to be able to speak about what's happened to us. It took me 7 years to use the word rape without feeling guilty, without feeling that I was undeserving of that term. It took me, 10 years to really start talking about what happened to me in my story. Because, I learned many years later from elder women in my community that when a woman is raped, she's supposed to get a new name in many ways, because a part of our spirit leaves. A part of us leaves and it doesn't come back. But in that same absence, a part of us grows stronger. And we become a new person in a lot of ways. And I think about where I am today, and what's happened to me doesn't define me anymore, but it's always there. And I carry it with me wherever I go. I was raped when I was 18 years old. It's how I lost my virginity. It happened again by the same man several months later. And I was a full scholarship student at college. And I was one of 2 Indigenous women at the college. And I realized that I didn't think anybody would believe me if I told them what happened. Because he was wealthy and he had money. And when we talk about assault, it's really about power, right? It's not about sex, it's about power. And I was too ashamed. I blamed myself. I hated my body because I thought that's why what happened happened. And I also felt like I second-guessed myself. I think a lot of us as survivors, we think, what did I do? And I replayed it over and over and over for years, thinking about what I could have done differently to prevent it from happening. What I should have done, what I didn't do. I always thought I didn't fight hard enough. I always thought that it was supposed to be this stranger, right, that comes out in the bushes. That's what we're taught in our culture, in American society, that it's this dangerous person. You never think it's going to be somebody you know, and usually it is. You never think it's going to be somebody you trust. and frequently it is. And it's not just our non-native men who are perpetrators. One of the hardest things I've had to accept as a woman is that it also can be our own men. And that's very hard for us to accept, but we have to learn to hold each other accountable. We have to learn to listen to our women when they talk, and also our men who are survivors. We have to stop asking them, well, are you sure? What were you wearing? What did you do? Is that what happened? Because we question our survivors. We never question the perpetrators, ironically. And that needs to start changing. And I'm so proud that this is happening, because when we talk about violence against the earth, and we talk about healing, and we start talking about creating a new life way and going back to our traditional ways, that also means honoring our women and protecting our women and listening to them. And I truly believe that that's where our change is going to come, whether it's for our earth and our water or if it's for our people. And we have to start listening and living by those values. And what I want to say to our people in the audience, or all surrounding us, our relatives, is that, you know, don't blame yourself. Don't blame your body. Your body is not your source of pain or hatred, and it took me many years to realize that. I was also really scared to go back to our ceremonies and our teachings because I felt like I was broken. I felt like I was dirty and I had done something bad, and that my family would see that, or the spirits would see that. And I was really afraid to go back and start healing, because it also meant I had to confront what happened to me. But that's really what's helped me, and that's what's given me strength, and that's what's given me a voice, is our teachings and our women, and standing with them here to say that we can stand together, and we are stronger together, and we believe each other, and we can empower each other. And I think we truly are creating a new way, because it's still really taboo for us as Indigenous peoples to talk about this. When we talk about rape and sexual assault, I know in my family, my grandma learned not to talk about it because that would protect her. You didn't talk about what happened to you, you know? My dad never talked about it. We didn't talk about it, and there was a lot of shame. And we internalized that shame. And in many ways back then, silence did save us, but now it's what's killing us. And there's so many of our young people who are taking their lives. And I think about all of our young people in our tribal communities in the cities who are leaving us. And I think there's a direct correlation to what's happening to their bodies, what's happening with violence against women and our children. And I just want to say that, you know, we have to start listening and loving and really believing each other. And that I want to say to all of the survivors out there just how much I know how much it takes just to show up. I know how much it takes just to survive, to wake up in the morning, to look at yourself in the mirror, and to know that, you know, you can do this. And that what happened to you, it might feel like it's what's going to break you, but you are going to grow so much stronger. And talk about it. Don't be ashamed. Talk about it. It doesn't make you, you know, the more you talk about it, the easier it gets. And don't feel guilty. Don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel ashamed. Because there's more of us out there than not. And we have to start sharing our stories. And I'm so proud of everybody who is here today, because this is about our water, and it's also about our women, and it's also about our teachings and living by those. And I'm so proud of everybody, and I want to say thank you to all the women who I have learned through and been able to survive along my own journey. And just want to say Pidanaya and how beautiful this is today. And I think I've dreamed about this for a really long time, because, you know, all of these beautiful people here today saying we believe you, we're here, we're supporting you, and it's time to stop the violence against our sisters. And a special prayer for all of our sisters who are in North Dakota right now because of the oil extraction through sex trafficking, right now being brought through those man camps. When we hurt our Mother Earth, we have to think about the consequences to the people. And whenever there's a extraction, we also see an influx of male populations. And we see our women getting shuffled through there, through the sex trafficking. And so I think about those women, and I want them to know that they're beautiful. I want them to know that they're strong and that they have the capacity to heal, and that our people will always be here to support them.
I was molested several times when I was a child, and I never said anything because I was afraid. I was too little. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. So I just kept on going. And then when I became a teenager, I was raped 3 times with my brother watching. He couldn't do anything. All he could do was watch. And then when I became an adult, somebody that was a sheriff raped me. It happened over and over. Maybe if I would have told somebody, it would have stopped. But I encourage you, please, those of you that have been hurt, talk to your support. I was told by somebody one time that we have to tell our men, and I'm thank you men for being here. Thank you for supporting us. That you have to start listening to your hearts in order to heal. Our men have to start listening to your hearts. Don't use this so much. Start listening here. And women, we've got the ceremony all the time. And we need to continue teaching those ceremonies to our children, because that's when we're going to become strong and we're going to start that road of recovery.
I mentioned to thank the men in the audience, because the reality is that the numbers are creeping up on the number of our men that have been violated. So it's not just about women. I'm a PTSD therapist. I work with the VA and tribal organizations all across the country, and I am working with as many young men as I am young women. So it's a rape of a culture. It's a systemic rape of a culture, and the target is towards our families. The boarding schools did that, the language did that. So it's a continuation of the colonized attack. So keep that in mind for us not to draw lines or take sides. The other thing that I want to mention is that this battle sometimes is really difficult to stand on your own. So in 1977, through the wisdom of, and I put my hands up to about 10 grandmothers in the spirit world from the Sichango Oceti, like Kate Blue Thunder, Nancy Whitehorse, some of them at Rosebud, that helped us younger women when we were standing here young like these women, and we said enough is enough. In 1977, we had a dream of a society, in a Korakichia, a special group of sisters that would stand up, because when you stand out there, you're subject to attack. And the attack comes from fear, from colonization, and the fact that it probably happened to you too. So we have to look at the reality of that. In 1977, we developed the first Native women's shelter in the nation at Rosebud. It's still there, White Buffalo Calf Society. We had a dream, but of course it had to be in the direction of the list of 100. I always talk about the list of 100, that every one of our needs is as important as the other, because it's for our very survival. When we developed that, it turned towards domestic and sexual assault, and it's still going. And like I said, the work has not stopped, and now we have some of these girls were not even born, and they were still in spirit, and they probably chose those paths so they could continue the work. And so I put my hands up, my hearts are with their work. The second thing that we did, again, in 1994, a wonderful, good thing happened in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Again, by then I was an older woman. We came together in a trauma retreat, and 99.9% of the women that were in that gathering had been either molested or raped. Once again, the classic figures. What we realized, we had been audacious enough to come there and tell these girls to get better. They taught us a very valuable lesson when their spirits began to shake. If you hear these words from these girls today and your spirit begins to shake, that's a good sign, because your spirit is still with you. If you didn't feel anything, that's a danger signal, because when we experience a very traumatic emotional thing, our spirit leaves our body. So we have these Nagiki Chopi ceremonies where we call the spirit back, and I personally have seen spirit standing outside the bodies of many people because it's too painful to be inside that body. So if you feel sometime like you're lonesome for yourself, that's what it is. It's time for you to come home, and that's why this camp is here. It's a rebirth of a nation against all the trauma that we have faced. When we began to look at the systematic attack that was targeted at our families, it was very, very deliberate. Rape the women, kill the children. And now, the thing that we're vigilant against in our own tribal communities is we have reified colonialism, because in our own communities, women are being raped and children are being killed by our own people. So, danger, because we are reifying that colonialism, that it's okay to kill a child because of the distress that's going on. And so, in 1994, we knew once again, that the call to leadership and healing first, we revived an old-time society, Oceti, called Braveheart Society. And again, it's easier to stand in numbers like these ladies are doing. When they're by themselves, they're easier for attack because we have patriarchies in our own Dakota, Lakota, Nakota system, where we blame the victim. So when we revived that society, we made a vow. We made a vow that we would not be like a neo-capitalistic system. We would not be under tribal government. We would not be any other federally funded systems. We take no federal money. We live in the borderlands, and we do what the grandmas did a long time ago. My daughter did her master's thesis on women's societies. You hear a lot of the men talking here. A lot of the women haven't been talking because, you know what, they're doing the work. But some of the grandma societies, because we're busy doing the work out there, we come in here, we kind of hit and run sometimes, but we're here. And the Okorakichia grandmas need to stand stronger because there has been some patriarchy that has occurred here. And we're not here to shame our relatives. We love our men as much as we love our women. But we can't stand to see them be active colonizers within our systems. We cannot be active colonizers. And so as we challenge that in Braveheart Society, we are 23 years old now. What we made a vow to do was not take federal money, not chase the money. We created a 50-year strategic plan, one of which was to stop the abuse against both men and women, girls and boys, to begin to bring back what you see, what we're trying to recreate here, is raising beloved children. I have behind me my Takoja Maniwi Choni, the little girl that was born here in the camp, for my niece. Natural. She came. She's named after her great-great-great-grandmother, who was a hunkpapa. Her name was Sakowin. And generations later, this little girl came back. Her spirit came back here. And so we've named her after her grandmother who was here. There's an old story that I've told, and some of you have heard before the Chanupa, when our camps were having a hard time like we are now, is that before the Chanupa, they were starving. They were having a difficult time. People were fighting. People were competing, putting each other down. What they did is they were reminded by Creator of the sacredness of life in this terrible hard time a child was born, as Maniwi Choni was. So we did a welcoming ceremony for her, and we held her up. And this is why we're here, for those generations. And so, as we, in this space, I want you to sit and think about it for like 2 or 3 seconds to know that we live in a very violent country. But the response to violence is not violence. So the announcement with the Corps of Engineers coming out yesterday, they have taught us to live in a corral where we react to the way they want us to act. I've already seen it on Facebook that people have made mentions of violence. That is exactly how they want us to be. They want us to be out there on the front line throwing things, our anger, our rage bleeding all over the place. When we do that, people get hurt. We sacrifice people. There's no end in sight. There's no plan. The most powerful thing that we could do to stand up against sexual assault, sexual violence, domestic violence, physical assault by the government is to be the most loving camp in the world. to be the most prayerful camp in the world, to be the camp that is not rattled by a trauma response where I get on my cell phone and I do a selfie of myself and say, well, I'm going to be on the front line. That's a trauma response. That's wrought with anger and rage of unresolved trauma of something that happened to you maybe on the playground. There's some rough spots on the playground. We all know that. It's hell to get through middle school and high school anymore without being hurt. Our communities are dangerous, and we can't exemplify that here. We have a chance for a rebirth of a nation. But at the same time, those of you that are non-native, non-indigenous, I implore you to let us allow this to be indigenous-centered. Please, please, because physical assault came from settler colonialism. It came from manifest destiny that said the conqueror could do anything that they wanted. So when you come here, there are rules. The grandma sitting in the center, the babies in the center, means indigenous-centered. It's not like you could yesterday, right over here, someone came up to me and they said, grandmother, we want to do an action. I said, I don't think you should. Well, we want to do this. You don't understand. Well, you asked me, and I said, no. Yeah, but you don't understand. You asked me. Yeah, but I came here to do this. You asked me. I'm going to do it anyway. You asked me. He could ask me all day long, but he came up here to find himself. And I pray for them. Those of you that have come from the Euro, other immigrant populations, other nations, we have business to do as diplomats. The only way we're going to address the physical sexual assault that is happening in every indigenous community in the world is to be kind to each other and to heal. And if you are an abuser in the crowd, and the statistics say that there are some here, it's not up to me to forgive you. It's up to you to do the work yourself. And you might have a long road coming, but when you do that, your grandson is going to be better. Your granddaughter is going to be better. So we've been called here to this center. It's part of your divine plan, whether you know it or not. We did call you to this meeting. We're glad you came. But remember why we're here. Many, many traumas have occurred. When I worked with the VA, I thought that Native people had the monopoly on trauma. Not even. I didn't realize that everybody is traumatized. The VA workers have immense trauma, and that's why they're mean to the vets. But above all, I want you to remember something about the Corps of Engineers announcement that happened yesterday. It's very important not to act the way they want us to act. You got that? So powerful if we could remain in prayer. We have people from across the world that have been doing that for generations. There's some Palestinian folks here. Are there any in the audience? Welcome, welcome. We have some people who are Afghans. Are they here? All right, give them a holler. We have people all across the world that have suffered the same thing that we have, except ours has gone on in a very fierce way by attacking the water. So we have to keep our eye on the prize. The prize is water, and not to hurt each other.
The Hunkpapa people, the Standing Rock Sioux, to all the First Nations who are gathered here to allow us to be here and to stand with you, to learn from you, from these beautiful teachings, and especially to know the sacred, to honor the sacred, to protect and defend the sacred, which is something that begins with what these women have shared, these truly powerful sacred women have shared. And I just want to close by saying thank you very much, by saying that I know that many of you who have experienced the pain of abuse can really feel what's happening to the earth around us, and the fracking and the drilling and the harm, and we're here to stop that, And your voices are the most powerful part of that from my perspective. Thank you very much.
And as a young person, it's hard to see these signs and these pictures of girls that look like yourself, who you identify with, that went missing a week ago, that went missing 2 months ago, last year. And my mother always taught us, like, every time we go out of the store, you see those missing signs for children and women. She always says, pray for them. So everyone we would go and look at them, hoping maybe we'll see them. Maybe while we're running, we'll see them. Maybe we'll help them find their way home. Maybe we can call them back to come back, because they're the ones that continue that prayer for our people for healing, but they're the ones that are supposed to continue that knowledge. So after years of doing the work and going off and coming back to Minneapolis, we started to hear more about the femicide that's happening down south with our brothers and sisters. We don't see these borders as they're real, because they're not. Because we're connected to Canada, the US, and Mexico. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all indigenous to this Turtle Island. And so what's happening with the women in Canada is happening at the same rate, even worse than whereas Mexico. And so I asked this relative I met earlier, she's from Colombia, she commented on my bag that comes from her people. And so I was trying to look for singers, because art really helps us to heal, and so does song. And so I wanted her to share a song from her people. Because what's happening with over there in the ground, that's exploitation, and we don't want to exploit any more of this land or of our own people or of our women. So we wanted to close it with a silent prayer, and the silent prayer is for those women that are in the man camps right now, that need that guidance to find their way back home, or to find themselves, or to bring their spirit back into their bodies, to come back to us, because we need them. So this is new, but we're going to put our hands in the air and silently send your prayers up to them. Ask them to come home. Ask them to start that journey into healing. Pray for them.
As long as we have these values and we can continue to help each other out as relatives, there might be hard times, but we will still have some place to go that's safe. And I want everyone here that needs that healing to know that they are not alone. Even if there isn't a program in your community, there's some place to reach out to, and women there. We talk about that all the time.
So I want to leave you with those words, and to remember that I know that there are just probably as many men who are survivors of sexual and physical assault, and I give you permission to heal. I give you permission to grieve. I give you permission to cry with your sisters up here. Wopira.